It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, episode 52 of the Trademate Sports Betting Podcast, back here with the main men, George Gamble, Harout Massoyan, here to preview EPL Gameweek 3, and then later on, very exciting stuff. We're actually going to take a look at UFC 253, huge card there, headlined by Adesanya versus Costa for the middleweight title. And we're actually going to be joined by smart sports trader Ryan Bruno too. So he's going to join in once we finish up going through three of the biggest games in the EPL. But wonderful having you along, fellas. George Gamble, how are you, mate? Did you have a good sabbatical there?
Yeah, I enjoyed it muchly. Much needed breakaway in the capital, London. Absolutely mental. But it was good. Good, but I'm glad to be back and discussing football with you boys.
Did you see the podcast last week, mate, with Harout and Drew?
I saw a glimpse of it, but I didn't see the whole thing. Well, there's some moments that I missed out on.
You didn't watch it.
No, I genuinely, I saw about approximately 5 or 10 minutes of it, but I probably ought to watch the rest. Did I miss anything?
No, shit.
Good promo, that.
No, I'm joking. It was bloody awesome. I really enjoyed it. I thought it's just very interesting. I thought the most interesting part was that Harout, that you guys have never, had an instance where you've, where someone's put too much money on something and you've been like, oh, fuck, can we just ease up? Or, something like that. We have some sort of risk management kind of disagreement. I thought at least once something would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you reach a point where obviously, like we've mentioned in the past one, where you're trying to get as much as you possibly can. Sometimes our arguments are more like, you didn't bet enough,
Yeah.
Because things move fast. It's hard to get as much as you want.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. But yeah, tremendous stuff. If you haven't listened to that. Everyone listening, listen to the podcast we did with Harout and Drew, his betting partner. So very interesting stuff. Quiz question for this week, fellas. For those who don't know, I am in Mexico, so we've gone for the full Mexican theme. Name 5 Mexican EPL players, past or present. George, and then Harout, you can name one, mate.
I think even 5 is tough, to be fair.
5 is tough. I could only think of 2 or 3.
Oh, well, to be fair, I've got 4, but there's one that I'm still like, is he Mexican? I'm not quite sure, so I'm kind of going with it in the hope that he is.
Yeah. There's actually a famous Mexican player who's got a similar name to me, who maybe we can discuss it later.
I know exactly what you're about.
Yeah. I've been spelling my last name wrong the whole time I've been here, so just to get a bit more street cred here in Mexico. But and maybe Ryan will be able to name some Mexican MMA fighters. There's a few out there too. All right, fellas. So we won't go through every game. Plenty of action this week, and all 10 games are back on. So now that all the Manchester teams are back from their break, we've got 10 games on. We're going to go through Sheffield United versus Leeds United on Sunday, early game. Man City versus Leicester City in the afternoon. And then that's also on Sunday. And then on Monday, the big game of the round, Liverpool Arsenal. Should be a cracker, so that's not till Monday. So we're going to skip all of Saturday's action. So sorry if anyone that wants to put some action on there, but I guess the 3 biggest games will come out of those games. So let's start with Sheffield United Leeds. Odds for this one, 2.75 Sheffield, draw 3.45 and 2.7 for Leeds. I guess in summary for this one, I've just written down one side that can score lots of goals and one side that doesn't score too many goals. George, you've written a preview for this one. I assume it's for We Love Betting. What are some of the key points going into this game, mate?
Well, I was saying the preview's not for this game, but nevertheless, it's one that takes my fancy with this one.
Okay.
I just quite like the game, but also there's going to be some Chelsea and United fans that are absolutely fuming with you. Obviously, they're both in action on Saturday, but as you said, these are the ones that are kind of sort of the biggest ones that jump out for me as well. Obviously, it's a Yorkshire derby, something to look forward to as well. I'm looking forward to seeing this one simply for the fact, as you said, it's like the team that doesn't concede a lot of goals against the team that scores a lot of goals. It's like the unstoppable force against the immovable object, if you like. But I'm looking forward to it. In terms of a card perspective, for example, Sheffield United they've seen two cards in all of their opening games. So in both of their opening games so far, under Chris Wilder, they're tenacious. They are a tenacious side. They don't give you too much time. They're very resolute in their defence. They try and limit your chances. But the interesting thing for me is, obviously they'll be without Johnny Egan for this one. He was sent off, I think, in the last match, so he'll be suspended. So I think you might see, is it Ampadu? Didn't he go on loan there? Or they bought him, so I think he might get a run out there as well in place of him. But I don't think we will see I think we'll see a lot of goals in this one. I do. The way Leeds play, just the way that they leave things at the back. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for Sheffield United to kind of get on that score sheet because Leeds just love to pile men forward. We saw that in their opening game against Liverpool, Premier League champions and a newly promoted side. And how many times you see it? They go into Liverpool's box and there's about 4 or 5 men in there. That's the way they want to play. They want to score goals.
Yeah.
And the fact that I really love this stat as well. It's the first 2 matches I've seen 14 goals. Both of them finished 4-3. But that's the most goals seen in the first 2 games by any side in EPL history. And from Bielsa's side there. So I think there's going to be goals in this one. I was extremely surprised to see that the line for over 2.5 goals was over even. So that was 11-10 on Bet Victor. I've got my little odds converter for you.
2.05. I think I'm getting better at this.
I think you might be.
Yeah.
Actually, no,
you're not. It's 2.1. It's 2.1.
2.07 at Pinnacle right now.
Over 2.5.
It's over 2.5. Yeah, and it's 2.1 if you like on Bet Victor when I last looked. But for me, the fact that Sheffield United, they're always picking up cards at home. Even a bet builder of over 2.5 and a Sheffield United just to pick up a single card is 11-8, which is 2.38, and I do quite like that. But for me, I think my play on that one would be just the over 2.5 because I think that's ridiculous value, especially the way that Leeds play. They leave so many gaps at the back because of the way they play. Sheffield United obviously missing a solid defender as well. So I think there's going to be goals in this one. It will go against the grain, if you like, of a normal Sheffield United home game, but just simply because of the opposition, the way they play, I think there's going to be goals. And Sheffield United will kind of hope that it will as well because they haven't scored yet this season. They haven't got off the mark just yet. But they've won 4 of their last 5 against Leeds, so they'll still fancy their chances. So I think that we'll see opportunities at both ends. So that's why, for me, my best bet of this one would be the overs on the goals, so over 2.5 at 2.1 on Bet Victor.
Yeah, considering Leeds opening 2 games, I would have thought that would be a little bit higher, that line. But I don't know. I still think the odds on Leeds are actually quite decent. 2.7. Sheffield United, they haven't got off to a brilliant start. They were pretty disappointing after the COVID break. So I don't know. What do you think, Haru? What are the markets doing? Like, surely there must be some money for the overs on this one.
It has been pretty stale. However, it's something I've talked about this before in previous previews, previous podcasts. And I think that when you observe, games from previous weeks, you kind of want to take mental note of what's particularly happened in that game for overs and such and how Leeds have played early on and kind of take that with you as you're analyzing the market and seeing what movement patterns happen between now and the start of the game. Simply because you kind of want to be one step ahead. You want to know how these games have played in the past. So I think taking that knowledge with you and applying it to like what kind of moves you can see in the market is really a good plan for snagging up value when the moves start happening. Because me personally, when I'm thinking of Leeds in the previous 2 games and how they opened up and the games that were scored against Liverpool and in their following week, it's just one of those things where I'm kind of prepared for the overs to get hit closer to game time. And taking that information with me and seeing how the market moves up to game time is super valuable for me when I'm betting for value.
What do you do in this situation? Because I think this is an interesting point that I always think of. Like sometimes I'll go into a game or a fight, whatever you want to call it, and I'll look at the odds and I'll just go, wow, I'm very surprised about the odds on that one. Like for example, when I looked at Leeds, I just thought, why are they that high? And especially like the overs that George just mentioned. Then, do you ever? Sometimes it just seems too good to be true in a way, and you think, what am I missing? Like, do you ever have those kind of conversations with yourself, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. And in those spots where I'm like, okay, yeah, it kind of looks too good to be true, I'm confident in my ability, especially because we're always on screen, either me or my partner Andrew. We're always on screen. So to us, it's really not that crucial or important for us to take something just because we believe it has value or if it looks too good to be true. Because, you know, when we become skilled traders, when the market actually starts moving, that's justification for us that, hey, the side that we think is value is actually the correct play. And it allows us, we have plenty of time to get on that position because we can beat the move before it's actually happening across most of the sports books.
Yeah. So any plays at this point, Haru? Anything you're seeing that you're definitely
no, I mean, as a trader, like me personally, I couldn't play anything here that's technically correct with our philosophy. I'd probably just take mental note of what I think should be the correct move and then just start playing it if the move actually happens. Because at the end of the day, as much as I believe something is good value, I have to respect the market because the market knows better than me. I'm just looking at so many games throughout the day where I can't really justify and say, hey, I know better than the market.
I get the feeling that if a little bit of money comes to the overs though, mate, you might pounce on it, eh?
Oh yeah, I'll pounce on it early. If I smell anything early on, even if it's just a few cents dropping at pin and the exchanges, I'm probably getting on before it's even like a 2 or 3% edge. I'll try to anticipate that move. So just keep an eye out on that because like George mentioned, and you also mentioned the way Leeds opened up in the first 2 weeks and how they've been scoring goals and how they're pushing forward. I think it's a really good spot to just acknowledge and say, hey, I'm going to keep an eye on the over and play for value when the opportunity comes. All
right. Love it, fellas. I'm excited to see what the market does there. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, George, you said Rennes win, and I think they're at 2.05. And you said that they should be closer to 1.8 and what they closed at 1.85 or something like that. That was exciting to see, mate. You're a market predictor over there. All right.
Don't know if I go quite that far, but it was a good pick.
Yeah, it was nice. Man City Leicester, fellas, your team.
Yep.
George, mate, what did you think, first of all, Man City round 1 or round 2, I guess?
So yeah, opening game, I was very impressed. The first half, very impressed. We showed the kind of intensity and the sharpness that we showed, if you like. I think it was 17-18 season, where we were fantastic. I've not seen that sharpness for a while. We just sort of last season it felt like at times we just sort of went through the motions of just trying to get through games, thinking we should win this, but there wasn't that zip. But no, we had that back first half, which was good to see. I was really pleased to see Ake and John Stones being partnered in the centre-half position because John Stones, he comes in for a lot of flack, but I think he's one of these players that is popular to hate him. It's popular to kind of have he's made this mistake, he's made that, he's done this.
With the price tag, it's so easy.
Yeah, but when he has a run of games, when he gets that confidence back with no injuries and consistently plays, he's outstanding. It's because of him in that the season before last where we edged out Liverpool to the title by a single point. You could argue he's the one that won us that title with that goal line clearance from Salah, and that was when he was playing consistently, and he was fantastic. So it's I'm hoping he can get a sort of a good run in the side so you can truly see how good he is. Very impressed with Ake, just the sheer composure despite his height. He wins aerial battles. He was really good, didn't really put a foot wrong. But second half, the thing is when you're playing away at Wolves, they're going to have a spell where they're all over you and trying to make something happen. It's inevitable. But there were a few things we could have done better. But overall, it was a solid performance. But no, so I'm looking forward to this one. Down the years, we've had a few tough times against Leicester. But no, I'm looking forward to this one. Because I think, I'm trying to remember Leicester's result last time out. I know they obviously beat West Brom first game of the season.
Yeah, they just beat Burnley 4-2. But I was looking at the stats for that one. and their XG was only 0.99. So it seems that they got a bit lucky. And I would assume, just looking at the odds here, you've got 1.35 for City, 6.25 the draw, 11s for Leicester win. I mean, for Leicester City are good, and those odds, even though Man City are great, like they're quite big odds for Leicester. But I think the compilers are just taking into account here that their XG is actually being, not that great coming back, even though they've won their first two fixtures. They beat West Brom quite easily, but it's West Brom. And then Burnley, who are a well-respected team, they didn't really get the XG that they would have been hoping for. So, and they also just played, I think what will factor in it too is they just lost to Arsenal midweek, the great Arsenal.
Yeah.
So, even though it kind of was their B team, but it was Arsenal's B team too. So I thought they looked terrible against Arsenal because I didn't think Arsenal were that great yesterday either. But all right, so is there anything, I mean, I know you're a bit biased, mate, but is there anything from a betting perspective that you see in this one?
Well, I mean, all I can do is, end of the day, bias doesn't always come into the stats. Stats are stats. There, you can't really argue with facts, can you? But obviously, as usual, it's never worth backing Man City just to get the win outright. The odds are always just too low, don't offer any value really, particularly with their defence. More often than not they'll win games, but every now and then they can lose. But the price just isn't, there's no value in it to get on. But kind of looking at the stats, obviously Aguero, he's still out, not ready to come back into the side yet. So which means obviously Gabriel Jesus will come through the line. He's kind of similar to Stones in a way. People do like to slate him despite, his stats speak for himself in terms of his goal involvements. But interestingly, in the 4 out of the last 5, Jesus has scored in. So he's in the last 5 games, he scored in 80% of them against Leicester. But no, Man City that is, have been winning at half-time and full-time in the last 7 home Premier League matches. And when I looked on Bet365, that was odds of 4-5. Which was 1.8. So again, it's the value. It's hard to try and find value for City winning, just because of how strong they are at the Etihad. But in the last 6 head-to-heads at the Etihad, so City have averaged 2.3 goals per game and 2 cards per game as well, and they've won the last 4 at home to Leicester by an aggregate of 11 goals to 3. So they've been the dominant side when these two meet at the Etihad Stadium. So in terms of Leicester, they've never won the opening 3 matches in the top flight at all. And the last 6 head-to-heads at the Etihad as well, they've averaged a goal a game and 2.16 cards per game as well. So for me, I do like the half-time, full-time result. I think looking at Leicester, they've played Burnley and, as you said, West Brom. Like they're sides that they should be beating, if you like. And looking at the way they've played, they've left themselves open quite a few times. I think they'll look to attack us on the counter, but they do leave gaps in their wings and between the centre halves as well. So, and I think we could exploit that. I think we'll win this quite comfortably. So I'd be tempted by I probably wouldn't, just because it's still a lot to happen in terms of the half-time, full-time. You want a hatful of goals, and the odds aren't great. But if I was forced to have a pick on the Man City Leicester game, again, I wouldn't probably be touching cards for this one, just because it changes all the time. City can pick up 4 one week and have an absolutely clean game the next. So for me, I'd probably go in on the Man City half-time, full-time. But I don't think that's biased. That's going on stats. But again, in terms of value, that's probably the best that I could find. You might want to mix it up in terms of City tend to get a lot of corners in the first half as they push to get that goal. And they always seem to score in the first half as well. I'm trying to recall the stats on that. So again, maybe a mixture of that. I'd probably personally leave this game alone to see how it pans out. But if I was to have a pick, half-time, full-time would be my one.
All right, good man. Harout, I'd be interested. What's the goal line on this one?
The goal line sitting at around 3.5 right now. But to be honest with you, when it opened up around like 1.9. 1.8, maybe a 1.87 some places, but it's already starting to peak to like 1.83, 1.8 some places. So, technically analyzing this, it does look like the under has had some support since the beginning. Goal lines generally don't come back as often as, the handicap between the two. So if I'm playing early, I'll usually play with more confidence on goal lines early on if I'm seeing a good read. maybe in this spot I'd like to see a little bit more, but that's definitely the side that the market has been leaning on the under 3.5. And Manchester City, to win outright, they opened at around 1.33. It's dropped to 1.29. So I guess if you picked it up near the opening price and you played Man City, you do have some market value against the numbers available right now. But it has kind of stabilized at this point. So it's not one of those where I'm telling you to go play Man City right now, but it's just something to take note of, because two things can happen. The market can come back, and you can either pick up, value on Leicester City on the Asian handicap, or, Manchester City might keep going. But one thing to note is there has been some activity here, contrary to Leeds United and Sheffield. So I think it is an active market. It's something to keep an eye on and see what you can find as movement starts happening later on, if any.
So Pinnacle's sitting at, 1.28, did you say? 1.29, then the odds that I just read out before, I can't remember what bookmaker it was, but 1.35 would probably be value there right now.
Yeah. It's Pinnacle is minus 345 American, so that converts to 1.289. It opened at 1.33, 1.328-ish. But yeah, it's around that range. There has been enough to deem a value play if you play the opener. So, and it's one of those things where there is activity, and anytime there is activity on a particular game, you're almost always going to find something, whether it's now or later if it starts trending back.
Okay, so right now they're going Man City and the unders. That's two things that normally don't go together.
No.
Yeah. All right, very interesting. All right, we'll move on. Game of the round, fellas. Liverpool Arsenal. And just to remind you, if you remember back to one of the first ever podcasts that we did together, do you remember the quiz question I gave you? When was the last time Arsenal beat Liverpool? And I think it was 2015 or something. And then, since then, I mean, the real question is, when was the last time Liverpool beat Arsenal? I can't remember. They put in a massive 2 in a row, beat them in the EPL last year at the end of last season, and then beat them in the Community Shield, although it was on penalties. Win's a win. And I remember you saying last time, George, that you liked Arsenal double chance in the Community Shield. And from what I'm seeing from my naked eye here, I reckon it's pretty similar odds again to what the Community Shield was. So you've got Liverpool 1.53, draws 4.9, 6.5 the win for Arsenal. If you want a bit of team news, Tierney and Louise should be back for Arsenal, I would assume. And since Thiago made that appearance off the bench at halftime last week, you wouldn't be surprised to see him start for Liverpool this week. But yeah, and the question I got here for you, George, is, mate, are you more excited to watch the two best teams in the league go at it, or are you more excited to see the two best Egyptians go at it this week?
The two best Egyptians, because I mean, what you said before is just wrong. But no, it's definitely the two best Egyptians. Obviously, I'd say El Neni edges it slightly, definitely. But yeah, Salah's hot as hell, but I don't think
he's actually been in good form.
He's been good.
He is the penultimate.
You can thank me.
He's the penultimate 7 out of 10 player. He'll never get better. He might get a little bit worse. Might drag you down to like a 5 out of 10 here and there. But mate, he's just solid. He just does his job.
That's what you want. Oh. He's like the Egyptian Nigel de Jong. Like, that's how I can describe him. Like, absolute hero. No, I rate El Neni. I'm glad he's having a good season. I feel like we've bigged him up in pre-season the point that everyone's like, oh yeah, El Neni. And then it's like, yeah, let's get him in. And he's just showing him exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. So, El Neni, if you're listening, mate, you're welcome.
But you're not. Are you interested in double chance this time, mate?
No. I think it's different. In a word, no. Like, don't get me wrong, I hope you get a result. I really do. Obviously, I love Arteta for a start. But I just want to say as well, anyone listening, any Liverpool fan listening to this is going to be like, oh, it's just biased. Like, Thiago is a cracking player, but I don't think he's as amazing as everyone is making out. Brilliant player, absolutely brilliant. But everyone's saying, oh, he's going to rival De Bruyne this season. It's like, well, Bayern Munich scored 100 goals last year. How many assists did Thiago get? None. He didn't assist any of them. Absolutely none. And it's all well and good coming on at half time against a team that are down to 10 men chasing the game and getting that many passes. Like, they're a man down, they're a man light. But, I mean, I'll happily be proved wrong, because I love watching players come into the league and just absolutely boss it and just perform really well. It's exciting to see. So even though I'm a City fan, I really want Thiago to shine and that, do really well, because it's great for the league. But I just feel like we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. He's had 45 minutes of Premier League football and we're already saying he's going to rival De Bruyne. Like, it's just, you know, give it a few months, and then if he's getting right up there, fair enough. But until then, I think I'll just hold back a bit on him. Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, yeah, going back to what you previously said, I think this is a Liverpool win all day, just judging by the stats. But then that doesn't, you know, it's not the end of the world though, Alex, because I said the same with Tottenham Everton. All the stats suggested Tottenham were going to win, and Everton bossed it. So there could be hope for you yet. But no, I was looking at it, and you know, Liverpool have won their last 4 home games against Arsenal, and they're unbeaten in their last 60 EPL home games, which is just ridiculous. Like, not lost in 60 games at Anfield. But yeah, another stat for you. Since Klopp's first Premier League game in charge of Liverpool, only Man City, with 35 against Watford and 30 versus Bournemouth, have scored more goals against a side than Liverpool have versus Arsenal in that time. 27 goals. So yeah, since Klopp's arrived, they've scored 27 goals against Arsenal, which is obviously a fair amount. But no, they were the cleanest side in the league last season in terms of disciplinary record. That might change this season, because you know, they've picked up a couple of bookings which, you know, last season, the sort of games that they'd have happily just gone through, dominated, and not had to commit any challenges. But I think this has got to be my favourite stat. But I'm more than happy to admit this is pure bias, and I just love the stat. No outfield player has made more mistakes leading to a goal since 2018 than Virgil van Dijk, which I thought was an incredible stat, to be honest, given the stat that he's got.
Wow.
But yeah, there's one for you. In terms of Arsenal, you know, since beating Leicester in 2017, Arsenal are winless in their last 6 EPL games versus the reigning champions. That's drawing 2 and losing 4. But they've also won all of their 3 games against Liverpool in the years gone by when the Reds have been champions. So if you can carry that one on and absolutely shock everyone with a win here, that'd be great. But no, they're looking to win their opening 3 games for the first time since 04-05. And in the last sort of 6 head-to-head as well, Arsenal have averaged 1.83 goals per game and 2 cards per game as well. So in terms of for Liverpool, for that stat, same thing with the last 6 head-to-head. It reads for pretty sorry reading for Arsenal fans, but they've averaged 3.83 goals per game where they've been playing at home to Arsenal in the last 6 head-to-heads, with 1.5 cards per game. So again, I think there'll be goals in this one. I love what Arteta's doing at Arsenal. I really do. I feel like he's the first manager they've got in for a while that Arsenal fans aren't getting on the back of. So it's just allowing him the time to put his work in, do what he wants to do with the side. And I feel like you can obviously attest to this, but I feel like you can see what he's doing there in terms of the way they're playing football, what he wants from them, which I don't really think you've had from a manager before. Like when you had Unai Emery, he was more known for good evening as opposed to what he does on the pitch with his players. So, but no, I like what he's doing there, Arteta. So it should be a great game, fascinating game, and hopefully Arsenal can do us all a favour.
Yeah, no, I think it's a long-term project with Arsenal at the moment. Although you know, since he's been here, we've won the FA Cup, and that was a huge surprise. I think the funny thing is at the moment, I'm actually more confident going into these kind of games than I am when we play a West Ham or a Fulham or teams like that, because just the way he's been setting up has been really effective against the big teams. I mean, if you look at the last 4 big games they've had. So we beat Liverpool Community Shield, beat City in the FA Cup semi-final, beat Chelsea in the FA Cup final, beat Liverpool in the EPL. They're the last 4 big games we've had. So we're on an incredible run at the moment when it comes to the big teams. So I think just the way he's setting up the team at the moment with the back 3, we're not a really creative side at the moment through midfield. So it's I guess playing on the counter, those long balls to Aubameyang where he gets it on the chest and the top of the left hand side of the box. He's slotted like 3 of those away in the last few big games. So if it was at Wembley, mate, I'd probably say it's a sure thing, Arsenal.
Well, that's it. If it's at Wembley, it's a different story. But I think also at the time, Liverpool were struggling in terms of form a bit anyway, whereas obviously they've come out flying in this one. Been really impressed with Magalhaes as well. Like since he started, I was really keen to see how he got on. And he's impressed me. And I feel like he's the first sort of proper dominating centre half that you've had. Like, he could really grow in like the next Thiago Silva. He looks like that kind of mould to be the next Thiago Silva. So you're really interested to see how his development carries on, because so far I don't really think he's put a foot wrong.
Yeah, no, I've been very impressed with him too. It'll be exciting to see how he kicks on, and it'd be interesting to see what they do this weekend with Luiz coming back too. Because he's been playing in the middle, and Luiz only really suits playing in the middle of a back three. So it'll be interesting to see if they either drop Gabriel or they don't put Luiz back in, and maybe they shift Gabriel out to the left a bit more. But Tierney's coming back too. So, yeah, big selection calls for Arteta. Harout, mate, any action in the markets? I know it's, we're about 3 or 4 days away at this point.
Yeah, nothing for the sides. No, outright win for Liverpool Arsenal. It stayed pretty steady. The only thing that I noticed early on when I was pulling up the markets before the podcast was there, some support on the unders for the game. Right now, the goal line set at 3, and it opened at around 2.05, and it's kind of dropped, not significantly, but it's enough for me personally to put a bet in. I'm not going to build any massive positions or anything, because I don't want to expose myself too much in case I don't really have much good closing line value closer to the start of the match. But as you guys can see here, I played the under 3. I don't know, it's kind of not zooming in, but I played under 3 right now, 2.07. So I think that's a good price based on where the market's currently sitting at in direction of trend. So I feel like the under has had enough support for me to play something. Other than that, I'm not really seeing anything special on Arsenal or Liverpool on any handicaps or anything. It stayed pretty stagnant so far. So I'll keep monitoring that. But if you want to get on the under, I'd probably say more often than not, if you do get some bet there, you'll close in your favor as opposed to not in the long run in these kinds of spots.
Fella's favourite time of the podcast, best bets for the weekend. And I will mention off the top our number one fan on Twitter. I don't know if you're all aware of him. I'll give him a shout out because he was very disappointed last week when we went with the podcast with Drew and Harout. Much against the public opinion, who were very excited for that podcast, but there was one man who really wanted to see that preview podcast. He actually sent a message through yesterday. He said, while you were shooting the video, could you also ask for the guys to help suggest me a best bet for 1.8 above odds bet, as I have got a free bet worth $50 on my birthday from 1xBet. So if I guess we'll go through our best bets of the weekend, but if any of them are 1.8, let me know, and we can and Prabhav can make his choice, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes. 1xBet, I think they're a bit dodgy though, aren't they?
Yeah, so the Russian bookies, they were running like cockfighting, weren't they, during lockdown? That's how dodgy they are.
What's going to happen? He'll put bucks down on something, it'll win, and then he'll have to turn that over like probably 100 times. Yeah,
I mean, they look good on Exeter. Like, you see them, they offer tons of halves, but then people get the money stolen, and they've got a bad reputation.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. What is it, like you win a bet and like, oh, well done for winning, however, to get your money you've got to choose which cock you reckon's going to win.
I'm going to take that little snippet out, George. That was a good little quote there. I like that, especially with no context surrounding it. But we'll start with you, George, mate. What's your best for the weekend, mate?
Well, ironically, my best bet of the weekend is coming from one of the games we didn't discuss. For me, it's in the Fulham against Aston Villa game. I put a preview together for the guys that we'd have betting for the whole season. My 5 favourite refs and teams, both from the UK leagues and obviously the European leagues as well. I really like this game simply for the fact that obviously we know what Villa are like. When they play, there's cards. They've got Jack Grealish. He's most foul player last season. He loves drawing in the tackles. And I was kind of looking at this one in terms of sort of the most kind of recent head-to-heads as well. With this one, in the terms of at Craven Cottage, Aston Villa in the last 6 games have picked up. Let's just go back through here. Yeah, they've picked up 15 cards in the last 6 head-to-heads at Craven Cottage, which I thought was quite good. And they've only scored 2 goals in that time as well, which I thought was quite telling. And also, the referee Stuart Atwell. So in the last 2 seasons, he's handed out 103 yellows in 24 games. So like I said, across the 2 seasons, that's an average of 4.29 per game. He doesn't let a lot go, and I think he's going to be blowing his whistle a fair amount in this fixture. But I think Villa will be the ones to pick up the most cards. But my best bet is I've gone with a bet builder, but I've done it's on William Hill because the odds are better than Bet365.
Oh, poor Prabbo.
Bang on 1.8. Actually, so it's just Fulham to pick up a card in the game, but Aston Villa to see 2 cards in the game. And I think that's good value at 4-5, considering the referee, the team is playing. They've got, like I said, Jack Grealish. So I really like the look of that one at 1.8. So that's my best bet: Fulham card and 2 Aston Villa cards.
All right, Haru, what have you got, mate?
Well, I know that our fellow friend on Twitter, he likes the EPL, so I pretty much showed the play that I thought was, a good play to take early on. I did take the under 3 in Arsenal, Liverpool, but I don't know if I'd recommend that. He has a free play, so because of push frequency, he might not get his money back. I haven't really looked at much else to play for EPL over the weekend. So, I mean, if he doesn't get a loss, if he pushes on that, I'd probably suggest he takes that before it gets more expensive. Looks like it will.
All right, nice. And then finally, Ryan, what have you got, mate?
So mine is it's in the Russian cockfighting league with one expert. No, I'm going with Ketlin Vieira.
Kellen Vieira? All right, mate.
Yeah, if you can get around 1.6 on the exchanges, I know it's a lot lower at the moment, but I was still seeing 159 up on Betfair, and I got some 1.6 this morning on Matchbook. So yeah, if you can get that, it's a good bet.
Parlay Vieira with a bit of cockfighting. Get it. Be better odds too. Oh god, I'm going straight to 1x2. What is it, 1x bet after this?
Yeah, 1x bet.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what they've got up there. And mate, we've got a weekly quiz question of the week, Ryan, and you missed the start, but the quiz question is name 5 Mexican past or present EPL players. But I thought, mate, since you're more into the UFC, if you want to, you could try name 5 Mexican MMA fighters. But I'll give you a bit of a time to think as I've sprung it on you. George?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we'll go Haru first. Haru,
Yeah, I was going to say go Haru first, yeah.
One Mexican EPL player, past or present, mate.
Go well. Good chat.
I don't know, Javier Hernandez.
Yep.
So only one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think anything with Hernandez does the trick.
Yeah.
Oh, ooh. Bit of profiling. Love to see it.
Isn't that, or is that Spanish? Oh, I might have got that very wrong.
Oh, a bit of both is fine.
Yeah. Sorry to any Mexican.
I think your chances are a lot higher. It's definitely not an Australian player, Javier Hernandez. So
yeah,
it's probably Mexican or some type of Latin country.
Yeah, it's not
No
a soccer
profile
name,
in
is
there.
it?
Just a good guess.
All right, George, how many can you get, mate?
Right, well, I've definitely got 4, and I need you to tell me if the 5th one is one or not. So I've gone with Neri Castillo from Man City.
Okay.
I've also gone with Chicharito, aka Javier Hernandez.
Yeah.
Gone with your namesake, except you spelled it wrong, Carlos Vela.
Yeah.
Now of LAFC. Giovanni Dos Santos, who's played for Spurs.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And this is the one I'm not sure about. Used to play for Watford. Pretty sure he's a fullback. Miguel Layun. I wasn't sure if he's like Uruguayan or something though.
Oh, how do you spell the last name?
Layun.
Here we go. It's Google search. He is Mexican, mate. Oh, you did good,
Oh yes. You'd love to see it. Talk to me.
Love it. Ryan, what do you reckon, mate? You give us 5 Mexican MMA fighters?
Yeah, so I'll give Cain Velasquez, Gabriel Benitez, Yair Rodriguez, Hector Aldana, and then Irene Aldana.
Easy as
There you go.
that. Easy.
Mate, look at that.
There you go.
It comes in hot. How good is that? But yeah, tremendous stuff, fellas. Great insight, and I think most of all, just good luck to putting that bet on, and I guess more importantly, being able to withdraw that at some point, because that could be quite interesting. But yeah, next podcast, I talked to Pro Sports Bettor Adam Booth yesterday, I think that was. So that'll come out on Monday. Fabulous stuff. I really enjoyed that one. But other than that, thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure you do a quick rate and review of the podcast and subscribe wherever you listen. And if you're looking to implement some of the strategies that we talked about today, particularly the value betting ones, make sure you start a free week trial of Trademate Sports and start your value betting journey. But cheers, fellas, and see you next week, most of you.
See you soon.
See you, fellas.